Have you ever been corrected on your English? Or maybe you've been told you don't sound proper. It's a weirdly common thing, but it makes you wonder. In a world with almost 2 billion English speakers, what does correct even mean anymore? Well, we're going to dig into that right now.
All right, let's start by kinda blowing up some of the myths we have about the English language. I've got a couple of quick questions for you, and I have a feeling the answers are going to surprise you. You ready?
First up, how many people out there would you say speak English as their native first language? You know, people in the US, the UK, Australia. Go on, get a number in your head.
The answer? It's about 400 million. Okay, that's a lot, but get this. Another 400 million speak it fluently as a second language, and 1 billion more are learning it. Just do that math for a second. Native speakers are already a tiny minority of the people using English every day. Wild, right?
So, if it's spoken all over the place, how many countries actually have it down on paper as an official language? What's your guess?
It's right around 60. But here's my favorite piece of trivia from all of this. The two countries you probably think of first, the US and the UK, don't actually have an official language at the federal level. Yep, no official language.
Okay, so how on earth do we get our heads around this incredible, sprawling diversity? Well, thankfully, a linguist named Braj Kotru came up with a really useful model that helps us visualize how English has spread across the globe. So it starts with what he called the inner circle. Think of the USA, the UK, Australia, New Zealand. Historically, these are the places that set the standards. You know, they literally wrote the grammar books and dictionaries. They were the norm setters.
Then you've got the outer circle. These are countries where English is often an official second language, usually because of colonial history. We're talking about places like India, Nigeria, and Singapore. And this is where it gets really cool. They're considered norm developing. They're not just copying the inner circle, they're creating their own unique, completely valid standards of English.
And finally, we have the expanding circle, and this one is just massive. It's basically everyone else learning English as a foreign language in China, Japan, Brazil, all over Europe. Now, traditionally, they were called norm-dependent, meaning they looked to the inner circle for what's correct. But as we're about to see, that idea is really starting to fall apart.
Now that we've got the map, let's zoom in a little. What did these differences, these variations, actually look and sound like in the real world?
The key word we need here is dialect. And a dialect isn't just an accent, it's a whole package deal. It's got unique vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. And here's the most important thing to remember. Absolutely everyone speaks a dialect. There's no such thing as a neutral or non-dialect form of English.
The differences we notice most easily are in vocabulary. You know, simple stuff. What an American calls the hood of a car, a Brit calls a bonnet. What Americans call pants, the British call trousers. It's the same thing, just a totally different word.
But the differences go way deeper than just words. They're actually built right into the grammar. So, for example, an American would probably ask, "Did you just get here?" But someone from the UK is much more likely to say, "Have you just got here?" Now, is one of them wrong? Absolutely not. They're just two different but equally correct sets of rules.
And you know, these variations aren't just about what country you're from. They're also about your social identity. We call this a sociolect. It's the way you speak based on your age, your job, your social group. Just think about the slang teenagers use versus how their grandparents talk. That's a sociolect right there.
So you've got all these different circles, all these dialects and sociolects. What happens when they all have to communicate with each other? What happens when a software developer from Japan needs to talk to a client in Brazil? This is where the story of modern English gets really fascinating.
Take a look at this chart. It tells a pretty mind-blowing story. That first bar shows that over 60% of all websites on the internet are in English. But now look at the second bar. Only about a quarter of internet users are native English speakers. You see that huge gap? It means that most of the English being used online today is between non-native speakers. This new reality has given rise to something linguists call English as a lingua franca, or ELF for short. Now, this isn't the English you learned from a textbook. This is practical, get-the-job-done English. It's a tool used between people who don't share a native language. And here's the kicker, the rules aren't set by native speakers anymore.
So what does ELF actually look like? Well, it's all about prioritizing clarity over old-school correctness. So little things that often cause confusion get streamlined. That third-person S on verbs, it often gets dropped. So you'll hear he like instead of he likes.
Confusing rules about which nouns are countable are relaxed, so saying informations is totally fine. The whole point is to cut out the tricky bits to make communication smoother.
And that right there is the fundamental shift. The goal of English as a lingua franca isn't to sound like you're from Chicago or London. It's all about being understood. The only question that matters is, did my message get across? It's not about being correct, it's about being effective.
This massive change, this move away from formal rules toward just getting things done, brings us to one final and kind of provocative question. I mean, think about it. If the vast majority of people using English every day are non-native speakers, and they're adapting the language to fit their needs, who actually owns it anymore? Who gets to be the boss?
The linguist H.G. Widdowson had a pretty blunt take on this. He said, and I quote, "How English develops in the world is no business whatever of native speakers. They have no say in the matter. They are irrelevant." Wow. I mean, that's a mic drop moment, right? It just completely flips our traditional ideas about who gets to control the language.
And really, that brings us to the new reality. English isn't some piece of property that's owned by a handful of countries anymore. It's become a global tool, a shared resource that's being shaped and reshaped by billions of people. So the next time someone mentions proper English, you can ask, who's proper English? And more importantly, how are you helping to shape its future?